I've emerged from my dungeon, finished testing, and I'm ready to do this. Alright, it's your Popboy, back with another defensive settings episode. And we're actually going to have 2 episodes on post defense. This is part 1. It's going to focus completely on doubling the post. Because as most of us know, in 2K19, post shots are just overpowered. It's way too hard to get a good contest on it. The shot grades are too light. You just feel like there's nothing you can do sometimes. They're gonna make it. And the problem becomes worse when you play certain people online and they know this and they just abuse the shit out of it. Like, congratulations, that must be fun for you to do that the whole fucking game. But whatever, the question is, let's get into it. What do you do? And in real life, it's pretty easy. Let's send a double, right? But back it up. Let's just hold on a sec. We don't want to create new problems that are worse than the problem we were trying to solve in the first place. Well, that's basically going to be our battle with doubling. Trying to find a way to double the post when we need to, while at the same time keeping our AI teammates from doing something dumb. So right here we have, and I'm going to lump a few of these together here. We got on dribble, on catch. Also in that group, we're going to put manual in there. And this just means they're only going to double when you call for it by holding L1 or your left bumper. But once you do that, it's pretty much the same thing as these other ones. Your AI teammates will go do the double. Alright, so we got all these 3 in the same group. And the reason I put them in one group is because they all, doesn't matter which one you use, they all trigger the same effects. And by effects, I mean they're going to make your teammates, your AI teammates, do some dumb shit. So we can see that it does send the correct guy to go double. We want the closest perimeter defender usually to go double. So that's good. But if it were if it were only that simple, but obviously it's not. You can see what's happening here. The defender at the top of the key keeps wanting to switch over onto that wing. But that's not even the worst thing about this. The worst thing is these 2 defenders are often not on the same page. They don't know if they're supposed to switch back or not. They don't know what they're doing. And you get that awkward moment where they run into each other and they lock eyes. They're like, dude, what are you doing here? I said we were going to switch this. Nah, man, I don't remember that. When you tell me that? In the layup line, man, right before the game. Oh, shit, man, I don't remember. I didn't hear you tell me that. Now one of us is going to look stupid running over there, man. I mean, to be honest, I feel like you was the one who didn't really communicate effectively, so... Boy, you better get over there before I bust your ass. Alright, I... And then by the time they figure it out, somebody's going to get an open shot in the meantime. And as you probably already noticed, it just gets even worse. Things get even crazier when offensive players start to move after we've already doubled. I mean, a lot of times when you double off somebody, that player will go cut, and the AI just has no idea. And then we got other times when you're doubling the post, and it just causes basically your entire defense to sag in really far and leave pretty much everybody open on the perimeter. And oh, by the way, all of these off-ball defenders are all set to no help for both of their help rule settings, and they're all set to either moderate or tight off-ball pressure. So that brings us to the bottom line of this issue. When you have the AI double, for some reason, I don't know why, but that causes the other defenders to ignore their help rules and their off-ball pressure settings. And a lot of times you wind up with exactly what you're looking at, just a clusterfuck of defenders in the middle of the floor for no reason. And look how ridiculous this looks. And real quick, guys, there's one other option over here called dig. We're going to go ahead and not use this one either. This is some pretty dumb stuff. He doesn't get close enough to the post guy to actually get his steal most of the time. He's like reaching from too far away. So just not effective, no point. So what are we going to want to do? Well, what's going to be our game plan? Well, first of all, for this setting, we do want to put it on manual, so that way we can control it and make sure it doesn't do one of these other ones. But we know we don't want the AI doubling, so of course that means we're going to want to do it ourselves. Okay, so you're literally controlling the player who's doubling. Now there's a couple advantages to this. First of all, doing this allows you to double with deception. So you can kind of dive in and out at him, stunt at him. You make them think you're going to double them and then they give up the ball. or you lay off and play possum and then pick the right time to dive in on his ass. And of course, if your man cuts, you can recognize this and get off of the double and go pick him up, which we know the AI does not do. Okay, so that's good, but there's still dumb stuff we gotta look out for. There's still ways that this can go wrong. Okay, however, what I found is when you double yourself, the dumb stuff doesn't happen as often. And when it does happen, it's, I guess you would say, more isolated. We're pretty much always just gonna have one problem child out of our AI teammates. So now, at the most, it'll be just one guy ignoring his help rules and off-ball pressure settings. And we can actually predict who that's gonna be based on the alignment of the offense. Which obviously that's a hell of a lot better than what we saw before with the AI doubling, where you never knew who or how many or what kind of dumb shit they were going to do on any given play. But now we're doing it ourselves. We're just looking for that one problem child. But here's the rule. Here's how you're going to know who you need to keep your eye on. Number one, if the offense has another post guy on the floor, usually he'll be around the elbow area or the mid-wing area. That's the teammate you're going to want to keep your eye on, whoever's guarding him. We see I go to double with Augustine here, and right on cue, there's Aaron Gordon leaving Siakam, dropping down for no reason. Now, if they're in more of a 4-out, 1-in look, that's when we're going to want to look out for that opposite wing defender to drop like this. And this is rare, but sometimes in this case you will see that switching like we saw before. But of course, the good thing is we're doubling ourselves, so we know it's just going to be one of these things on a given play. It's not going to be some random combination of all of them. So now that we know the situations, we know who we're looking for, of course now we can be ready to switch onto that guy and correct his behavior if he starts to go dumb. That's a perfect example of it here. We got John Collins guarding Draymond Green, who's kind of playing that opposite wing, opposite post elbow area. So I know I'm keeping my eye on John Collins. So I'm ready to switch to him. And I'm turboing his ass over there to get a good contest on the shot. Force a miss, we're good. So now at least we can reliably predict and have a plan and be ready to execute it. So we do what we have to do. However, it's time to get to my number one doubling method, which still has its potential problems, by the way, but you know we'll deal with that. But after doing all my testing, here's what's becoming my favorite way to double. We're still doing it ourselves, of course, but this time we're doubling with the guy at the top of the key. Or this right here is more of a clear out setup, so he's not right at the top of the key, but you know what I mean, it's that next defender over. Now the reason I love this, and number one advantage to doing this, it eliminates all of that switching bullshit that we've seen throughout this episode. And for the most part, the other defenders are staying home like they should. Now the obvious downside to doing this is, that's a lot of ground to cover. So if he passes it back out to the top of the key, you really got to turbo your ass back there. So that's why I don't recommend doing it if the defender at the top of the key is kind of slow, or if there's an elite three-point shooter at the top of the key that he's guarding. Alright, so based on the personnel, it can be a little risky. One other thing we got to keep our eye on with this method, of course, it's the opposite post defender. Or if it's more of a 4-out look, it's that opposite wing defender at times. So we still have that one guy, but at least it's highly predictable. We know exactly where to look. So much better than all the unpredictable chaos that we saw before. And this right here, this is as good as doubling the post is gonna get in 2K19. Alright, so take some time to digest it, get on the floor, get back in the comments, let me know how it's going for you. Of course, if you have any questions, I'm always gonna try my absolute best to be here for you guys if you need anything. And of course, if you enjoyed, if you found this useful, you know what to do. Tap that like button down there. You can help the channel grow, which will help me be able to test more and upload more videos more often. And speaking of more videos, we got part 2 of the post defense settings coming up next on 2K with the Popboy.